Hi everyone. So you've made it now to the end of the unit. Well done. This is our last sort of area of study, and that's around inclusion and communities. We want to think about why this might matter within a community setting. So when we think about inclusion and community, remember this is not just a local idea, it is a global idea. So it's linked to a lot of UN agendas, such as the Sustainable Development Goals, number 11, and global age-friendly communities for older people and children. So it's not just a promotion that we're trying to do throughout Australia, it's internationally that we're trying to make spaces more inclusive for those with disability. And we do that through valuing diversity, different types of disabilities, different generations, different people, by ensuring people have the rights and freedoms that all people in the community should have, not just able-bodied people. We want to ensure the needs of vulnerable and disadvantaged groups are responded to and safeguarded. We don't want any discrimination. And if there is discrimination, it should be responded to, quickly and fairly. We want citizens involved in decision-making processes, and from a critical disability perspective, we certainly want people with disability themselves to be involved in those decision-making processes. And really, a full access to resources and equal treatment and opportunity is important when we talk about inclusive communities. I'm going to link all of this back in again to sort of more global ideas. So we can talk about the global movement Habitat 3, which comes from the United Nations. And because we know around 66% of the world's population will be living in cities in the future, it's really, really important that those cities and towns are accessible and inclusive for people. So the urban development space and disability has a lot of traction. It's very important at the moment. We're going to see a lot of that increase. In fact, 90% of it, the vast majority, take place in Africa and Asia. And a lot of people who are urban dwellers are people with disabilities, I suppose, as well. Don't always assume too that people have a lot of money living in cities. That's not necessarily the case. And the proportion of people living in urban areas is actually, still going to be 30% in low-income countries. So you might hear this spoken of in other settings, the Sustainable Development Goals from the United Nations. And Goal 11 is to make cities and areas that people live inclusive, safe and resilient and sustainable. So there's a real focus there around inequality related to gender and disability. So this is really a global movement about making communities accessible, which is exciting. Now, under the United Nations Convention of the Rights of People with Disabilities and the National Disability Strategy, we should be having a great focus on inclusivity and community when we talk about disability in Australia, and we're actually accountable internationally to do so. So according to Policy Priority 1 in the National Disability Strategy, inclusive communities enable all people with disabilities to live in accessible, universal design communities and experience full participation in everyday life and equal citizenship. And when we talk about universal design, what we're talking about there is a design that is universally accessible. So it might be accessible for people with a disability, for someone with a pram, for an aged person, all of these kinds of people. So it's a very key term. When we're designing spaces now, we're looking for those universal design principles. So at the moment, a lot of communities are not inclusive of people with disabilities, and that's sometimes design issues. Look at this pavement here. We can see that's not going to be accessible for someone who, has mobility issues potentially there. Or this is research from children with disabilities talking about how they feel, who do they feel like in this picture here, or telling us how they can't go certain places because of their disability. So sometimes exclusion can be streets, playgrounds, shops, shopping centres, lots of places that able-bodied people do take for granted. Just want to draw your attention back to this fabulous diagram here that we've looked at earlier in the class around exclusion, separation, integration and inclusion, and what those things actually mean. It's actually really important for us to have inclusive communities, because if we exclude people, that's actually a form of injustice. Okay, we're promoting injustice to a certain group. And we don't really, if we're interested in social justice and equality, we don't want injustice to continue. People have the right to be part of decisions that impact their lives. So going back to critical disability theory, that's really, really important. But also that diversity is an important part of our lives. It enriches our lives, it makes them more exciting and more interesting. And that includes our cities. If they're inclusive, they're actually far more interesting places to live. Once we go back to this idea of inclusivity in community, but also universal design, it really benefits a lot of people, because if you think there are also older people, kids, pregnant women, people with temporary injuries, as well as people with different sorts of impairments. So they all might have trouble accessing the physical environment sometimes. So it's really important for us to think about, well, how do all people access these spaces? Once the sum of people worldwide included in the 6 priority areas for design have been added together, we find that we have designed for the majority after all. So if you think about it, a lot of us are going to fall into these categories at some stage in our life, whether we're disabled now or able-bodied. So it's really important for us to think long term how we design these spaces. What we also need to think about is that human beings are social creatures. We actually need to connect with each other, and we need spaces to do that. It's a part of our emotional and social well-being. So it limits stress in us. It promotes our well-being, physically exercising, being outside, our emotional connections, social connections, and our attachment and belonging to places. So community connection can only happen when people can actually access parts of the community. So it's really important, again, for these to be inclusive spaces where we can bring groups together. Some of you might have travelled in parts of the world where there's, town centres, and in the town centre you see old people, young people, babies, etc. And it feels like a vibrant and exciting space. So that's what we want to aim for, right? Somewhere interesting and fun for everyone to live. We're also seeing a rise in this idea of inclusive tourism, and there's an economic benefit to that. So enabling people who have a disability to be able to focus and have access to tourist services, to be actually able to travel beyond just a day trip or an overnight stay. So you can make big money if you, as a tourist destination, decide that you're going to provide spaces for people that are accessible and easy to get around. It's a bit of a no-brainer. Here's some classic example here, really, of missed opportunities for money, okay? Because let's have a look at these spaces here. This is hard to get in and out of. Someone's gone to all the trouble of putting a ramp here and then put one of these burners here so that you can't get in anyway, or just stairs. So it's a very ableist concept, and it's the idea, I suppose, that people with a disability have no money to spend, nor would they like to spend it in a cafe or a shop, when, of course, that is not true. So it's a missed economic opportunity as well if we don't have inclusive spaces. We'll have a look at this video in a moment and consider a few more options online.